Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I want to do a little look at this guy right here. This is the Chris Reeve Knives Large Sebenza 21 in the Tanto blade with the carbon fiber scale. Backside's just the normal Tanto Sebenza. This is currently a Knife Art exclusive. That's one of the distributors for Chris Reeve Knives, and they're the only folks selling this model at the moment. And I want to thank very much my buddy Nicholas for sending this little guy along. He saw my expression of lust in an Instagram post or Facebook or something like that, and said, you know what, Nick, I'd like to buy one of these. Maybe I'll just have it shipped your way first. Like, oh yes, I like that. So very, very generous, and I got to carry this for a couple of days. The thing is, though, this is basically a Large Sebenza, and as all of you know, I have a review already of the Large Sebenza on the channel. Mine was a review of the Insingo blade shape with the normal titanium scales. And so rather than doing a full review of this knife, I'm going to refer you to that full review, and then I'm going to talk about the couple of ways in which this is different. Namely, it's got a different blade shape, and it's using the carbon fiber for the scale. But before we do that, I just want to show you how it's put together real quick. And so we're going to just jump into, we're going to use some movie magic to disassemble this knife. So ready? Here we go. Here we go. Here. Bam! So we can see here that it's pretty straightforward to take this guy apart, and in fact the inside of it looks like any other Sebenza. You've got your small washer on this side, you've got your pivot bushing here, you got your washer on the other side, and that washer goes right up against the carbon fiber. The nature of the Sebenza's action is such that this washer shouldn't be turning, and thus it won't really be wearing on the carbon fiber, so there's no problem here. But yeah, there you go. The other thing this lets us see is that this is actually a continuous chunk of carbon fiber. This is not like the G10, mostly G10, a little carbon fiber on the top. No, this is a solid chunk of CF. Super durable, stiff, etc. So it's good to freaking go. And pretty thick as well. So that's the construction of it. It's really no different than any other Sebenza. So let's go ahead and put it right on back together. Here we go. Here we go. Bam! Okay, so the carbon fiber first. We can think about it first just purely aesthetically speaking. It is full-on carbon fiber. It's all the way through. That's a really nice thing. And it is milled beautifully. And in fact, we can see here that the contours of it are exactly the same as the titanium. I think they probably just used the same CNC pattern and did the same thing. So you still get the logo. You still get the locating hole in the back here. You also even get little tiny details. Like if we look by the lanyard hole there, there's that little kind of protuberance, if you will. It sticks out there, provides a little reinforcement. That's there too. So in terms of ergonomics, in terms of shape, it's exactly the same as the titanium. So really what you're getting out of this is primarily aesthetic, and the other change is the weight. The weight of this knife is definitely lesser because carbon fiber weighs a lot less than titanium. So you're looking at 3.7 ounces versus 4.58 ounces. And mind you, this isn't a perfect comparison because this is Insingo, this is Tanto, this has a lanyard, but still, it gives you an idea. You're losing about an ounce when you go from the titanium to the carbon fiber. I'm not going to lie, that is nice, and this is noticeably lighter in the hand. Also, the balance is a little further forward on this guy relative to your general titanium. But it's not one of those differences that's like, oh my god, night and day. You don't pick this knife up and feel like, wow, that's a featherweight sort of thing. I mean, it still feels like a substantial knife. It's just a little less heavy than this guy. I did like carrying this around slightly more than this guy because of that weight, but it's not a huge deal. It's not a night and day, oh my god, change. The other thing that I'm going to bring up is some people, and I am myself guilty of this, saying this in the past, people are like, well, but half the knife is carbon fiber. Isn't it going to be more vulnerable than titanium? Yeah, potentially, but the thing is, carbon fiber is really strong stuff. And this is a nice thick plate of it. So, yeah, it's true. If you're absolutely going to be, I don't freaking know, hammering this guy into a tree and then using it as a stair step, yeah, this might be more likely to break than the titanium. But practically speaking, in your life, you're probably never going to need the extra durability of the TI. So the carbon fiber is actually, I mean, I like it. It's a nice little touch here. Maybe I'm enough of a metal snob to prefer the titanium, but there's certainly no real downsides to it whatsoever. It's more a matter of taste and lightweightness. If you like the CF, then do the CF, 100%. Now let's talk about the blade. So the Tanto blade's got a lot going for it as well. I mean, the steel is the same, it's S35VN, but unlike, for instance, the Insingo here, you get a much flatter surface down here, and then you get a secondary edge up here. This being an American-style Tanto, it actually comes to an edge. That's got some advantages. First off, the tip is a lot less fragile. If we look at the Insingo, which is really meant to be a slicey grind, you can see here that this is way thicker than the Insingo guy is. And the Insingo's even got a little bit more tip reinforcement. It's definitely a stronger tip. So if you're doing a lot of stabbing sorts of cuts, this is going to last a little bit longer. You're not really going to injure your knife in the same way that you might with the Insingo, although this is pretty durable too. Next advantage to the Tanto is that you get these two different edges here. And actually you can see there are kind of two bevels on this top part here. There's the first bevel, and then there's the actual grind, the actual sharpening, which is more convex. And so this extra little bit of bevel here can be great for scraping and things like that, in the way that it's a little harder to do with something like this. You can pull it off, but it's a lot more fiddly than if you've just got this surface here. Note, though, that this is not completely straight. There is a little bit of curvature through it as well, unlike, well, some of your really Tanto-y blades or the Razors, sorts of things like that. So keep that in mind. The other advantage to the Tanto is it's got this little corner here, and I find that corner very useful if I'm trying to open up a box. So for instance, if I've got this box right here, and I don't want to cut into whatever the contents is, you know, with a lot of knives, you're going to have to just go in straight. But on this guy, you can just put that little corner in there and just slide it backwards there. There's not actually any tape to cut here, but still, it gives you a nice, controlled sort of cutting. You can only go so deep with that, and if this little edge is sharp, then it's going to cut like a charm. So I do like that very much in a Tanto. The disadvantages to the Tanto are that the tip is very thick, and overall the knife is a little thicker behind the edge. It's still not out of control, and frankly, it's still better than a lot of what ZT is putting out lately, you know, in terms of thickness behind the edge. Even though the blade stock is thicker on the Sebenza, this ZT is way thicker. But you are losing some slicing capability in the Tanto relative to your Insingo here. And, you know, it's going to be a different blade shape. It's going to appeal to different people. I mean, aesthetically speaking, the Tanto may not be for everybody. So there you go. That's the blade shape. Let's talk just kind of my final thoughts on this knife overall, though. Look, final conclusions. The Large Sebenza 21 is a freaking incredible knife. I love it. I mean, watch my full review, but this guy is a solid freaking gem. And so the big question for me here was, did they screw anything up when they went to the Tanto blade and the carbon fiber scales? Is there a problem here? Or is it even better? Is perhaps the more optimistic approach? And for me, the answer is, unsurprisingly, no, they did a great freaking job of it. And so if this guy is a gem, so is this. Sure, you're making a change when you go to the Tanto blade. You're sacrificing a little bit of slicing ability to have a thicker tip here that's going to be a little more durable to get this extra tip and get this straight edge there, which might be helpful for some. But it's not a problem. There's nothing wrong with the Tanto blade. In the same way, there's nothing wrong up here. It's a different choice, and it'll make sense for different people. With the carbon fiber, same exact thing. Sure, you're gaining some lightweightness, and that's great. And you're gaining some visual attractiveness. This is a very pretty handle. Maybe a little more slippery than some, but the backside is still this blasted finish, so it's not even a problem there. And so it kind of comes down to a matter of taste. I mean, sure, maybe there is a theoretical difference in the strength of this versus this, but it's not going to matter for most people. So it's a matter of choice. Do you want this blade or do you want this one? Is that extra ounce really worth it to you? Because remember, you can get this scale on this knife or this blade on this. You know, you can mix and match as you see fit. So the carbon fiber is also A-OK, good to freaking go. For me personally, although I like this knife and I enjoyed carrying it, I actually like this guy a little bit better. The Insingo blade shape just makes more sense for me and the kinds of cutting I do on a regular basis. And so I'm happy I went the way that I did here. If I woke up tomorrow morning and this was replaced with carbon fiber, I think I'd be pretty okay with that too. I kind of go back and forth there. They're both really excellent knives, but that is kind of my final conclusion. This is a matter of taste. This is incredible. This is incredible. Take your pick. You're going to be happy either way. So I hope this review was interesting to you, that it was positively tantalizing. And mostly I hope that you have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of the day, and that no matter which of these Sebenzas you end up choosing, it's a good worker for you. Bye now.